How's it going, everybody? This is Jose Trujillo, world's greatest living artist, coming to you from the art studio. Today I want to talk to you about how does your perfectionism affect your art production. That's really what I want to know. How much does your perfectionism affect your art production? And, think about that one for a little bit. Way hot. So, I've asked this question to other artists, and artists seem to be a bit confused, right? And not like good confused. I don't know if there's good confused, but they seem to be confused. Why? Because we tend to think that perfectionism, at least many artists tend to think this, that it's got to do with skill level, and many times even more, it's got to do with realism, especially for representational artists, right? Painters and whatnot. You do photography or you do hyperrealism or whatever. You do representational art. And people tend to think that, perfectionism is realism. No, dude, you're very confused if you think that perfectionism is realism. And so why is this, right? How much does perfectionism affect your art production? So I've asked this question and people have told me different things. Some people have said, well, I don't have any of that problem, which more power if it's true. I don't know how true that is. I think most of us are struggling with one thing or another on that spectrum. And the other thing is that people say, no, I don't have a problem with perfectionism because I'm a very good realist painter. And it's like, okay. Or yes, I have a lot of problem with perfectionism because I am not such a good. I don't understand how to paint eyes correctly. Guys, you're very confused, guys. Here's the thing, okay? And I don't mean to be disrespectful. I'm just trying to shine a little bit of light because I feel like, again, nobody talks about this kind of shit, and we should talk about it. We should go beyond the technical aspects of it. The technical aspects they're not what make you an artist, guys. They're what helps you become a painter, your craft, but they're not what makes you an artist. They're not what makes you a working artist. Because I know a lot of people are like, I was an artist since I was born. I'm talking about a working art. I'm not talking about your attitude or your ideas or your aspirations, your dreams, and none of that stuff. I'm talking about real physical stuff. Do you sculpt? Yes. Okay. Well, then you're a sculptor. Do you sculpt for a living? Okay. Well, then you're a full-time sculptor. Let's start getting real, guys. Okay. That way, it's not just open and then it's the information gets lost in the way. Okay. So how much does your perfectionism affect your art production? Guys, perfectionism is a thing that shows up in different ways. It doesn't just show up in your artwork or your skill level. That may be one aspect of it. You might get frustrated if you're like, oh man, the eyebrow's off. Yeah, you might get frustrated about that. I get it. But that's not really where perfectionism usually shows up for most of us. Perfectionism will show up in as many different places as possible. And it's not just on your artistic level. Again, for example, you could say, I don't have the right paint. Right? That's a form of perfectionism. It's procrastination, really what it is. Perfectionists are procrastinators. They just don't know it. Perfectionists want the conditions to be right. And if the conditions are not right, they call themselves perfectionists because that way they can make sense of the procrastination. Right? That's why Picasso used to say, I think he said, when I don't have blue, I use red or something like that. Colors, right? I believe he was trying to say, because he was a high performance artist. Okay, he wasn't your average artist. He created a lot of work, and he was very high performance. Like he had a lot of energy, and he created a lot of outflow. What I talked about in other videos. So this guy, he was prolific. That's another word for it. This guy was like, dude, if I don't have this color, I'm gonna use this one, but I ain't gonna stop. It's really what he was saying. If you pay attention to his life, if you pay attention to his artistic, right, life, you realize that this was a cat that didn't stop, that didn't know how to, that didn't want to stop. He taught himself probably how to keep going regardless of the conditions. So in a way, he was not a perfectionist. Now, he wasn't also a perfectionist on the artwork, on the realism aspect, because he was, of course, doing something else. He was moving on from those ideas. So you don't have to be an abstract painter to not be a perfectionist. You know, you could be a realist painter. You could be Peter Paul Rubens for all I know, or Michelangelo or Caravaggio, whoever you want to call yourself. Look yourself under, you know, and still have heavy ideas of perfectionism. You know, like that gallery is not for me. I know some artists who are really great at painting, and they create a handful of great art. But they're perfectionists in the way that they share it to the world. They're like, no, the photograph is not right. No, I won't do it. Or I won't take the photo. I won't show it to people unless I have a watermark and a copyright signal there. Because otherwise I don't want people to get my ideas and blah, blah, blah. Like all this perfection, to me, this is just perfectionism. This is just, people say there's nothing wrong with doing things right. The problem is that most people do not know how to do things right. Most people use doing things right as a form of procrastination, as a form of not going forward. See, doing things right means you do things right, but you move forward. Now, many people hide under that veil. Like, oh, I'm trying to do things right, but they never get any shit done. So you're not really doing things right. You just don't want to do things at all. And you hide under the idea of doing things right. Again, I know this is a rant. This is a smackdown. Smackdown. On all you perfectionists out there. It's just, just stop doing that to yourselves. Perfectionism doesn't just come out on skill level. As a matter of fact, I don't even think it's got to do any with that, really. Perfectionism has got to do with a state of mind that is not good enough, right? It's not good enough. So if it's not, because you're afraid, it's really what it is. I'm afraid I'm going to get, people are going to talk about me. I'm afraid that people are going to say mean things. I'm afraid that maybe the artwork is not good enough for that place and blah, 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 blah. And it's all this mind ideas. I'm afraid that if I don't use the right color, my message is not going to go through right, And so you stop yourself before you even start moving. You're like, oh, yeah, I want to take this journey. But I'm afraid of da 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 da, and you're right here. You never even took the journey. At least if you take the journey and you're afraid, you figure out how to work it out. But if you never start walking, and again, this is one of those tricky things, and it's not a popular subject. I know a lot of you guys are gonna be like, man, to start playing pro, you got to start facing the monsters, and this is one of the monsters. Perfectionism is another way to procrastinate, and you got to remove yourself away from that if you want to move forward. I'll leave you with that. The name is Jose Trujillo, world's greatest living artist. Till next time.